So there you have it. Season over. Super Bowl 57 went down. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Philadelphia Eagles by a score of 38-35. We had a feeling this could be a high-scoring one, and it was. And this game felt like a tease of something great, but that's what it really felt like when you go from the start of the game to the finish. Felt like a tease that something great was going to happen, but it never did, because the first half, offense, minus that fumble, which was returned for a touchdown by Kansas City, offense was looking excellent the first half. We had 24 points on the board. It was really looking swell the first half. You saw we were converting big, third down and fourth down. We were moving down the field, scoring points. I mean, minus that one fumble that was returned for a touchdown the first half, things were going well. Fans were enjoying it. It was a good time for us Eagles fans. Then came the second half, when the Kansas City Chiefs made adjustments on the offensive side of the ball. Patrick Mahomes got injected with a bunch of painkillers, enough painkillers to put an elephant in a coma, and it turned the tide of the game. And the Eagles defense had no answers whatsoever. None. 4 drives for them in that second half. 4 offensive drives. 4 scores, 3 touchdowns, and a field goal on the final drive. That's what happened there. That was the adjustments they made. We didn't adjust. We had 2 scoring drives. A field goal to make it 27-21 after they scored on their opening drive, and the touchdown, the 2-point conversion to tie it up late, and reassemble some hope. But yeah, that's really what it was in the second half. And ultimately, they adjusted when it mattered most. We didn't. And that's why the Kansas City Chiefs won this game. We didn't. To me, this game felt like a night going out to a bar, getting ready to have some fun. You're going to enjoy the environment. Looking forward to it. And then come the next morning, you wake up hungover and you're wondering, what did I do last night? What did I do last night? That's what it felt like, this game right here. Night that looked like it was going to be a special night, only to wake up the next morning hungover and just wondering what happened. What embarrassing thing are you going to find out the next morning? It was kind of like, and Monday felt like a Super Bowl hangover. But that's how it went down. So let's get into this game a little bit more, shall we? So as far as the game goes, hey, we weren't the better team. They were. They won. Now, obviously, one of the biggest things that's been pointed out on Eagles Twitter is the call at the end, the holding call against C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I'm going to get that one off my chest. It was a terrible call. It was. Terrible call. There was no holding, if you ask me. And it played a factor in the outcome of the game. However, it only played a factor. You can't solely blame the bad call for, let's see, the fumble in the first half that led to a touchdown. That could take 7 points off their score right there if that doesn't happen. The kick return by Kadarius Toney that put him in scoring territory for them to score the go-ahead touchdown, that played a factor too. You could have played that better, and you couldn't have fumbled. Jonathan Gannon could have made proper adjustments in the second half, maybe stopped Kansas City once, maybe twice, and guess what? You wouldn't be in a position where that call could decide the outcome of the game. So ultimately, the Eagles screwed themselves over. They did. They screwed themselves over with mistakes and put themselves in position where a call like that could have a factor on the outcome of the game. So yeah, I can say the Eagles screwed the Eagles in this one for that right there instead of blaming the refs. Yeah, some people are going to sit there and blame the refs and use that as an excuse. That's really not an excuse. I said the exact same thing when it came to the Cincinnati Bengals. Remember when the Bengals were trying to make excuses? Some of their fans were trying to make excuses. I said the same thing. Now, here I am with my team. I'm going to say the same thing to our fan base. Stop making that excuses. Think deeper than just that one call. Now, some people may not like that stance, but I want to come on here and give you what I took away from it. So I'm going to come on here and give my stance and tell you how I feel about it. Some people are going to agree. Some people are going to disagree. Okay, that's just the way it is. That's just part of life. So if some people don't like that stance, it doesn't bother me. Because I know different stances, different takes are part of life. So it's not going to bother me at all. But that's how I feel about it. I feel like ultimately we can point the finger of blame at the team for this game. I mean, look. First half, things were going real well. Offensively, we clicked. We got to stop them a few times in the first half right there. Things are going well. Really, they only scored one time in the first half offensively. The other score came off the fumble, but they scored one time offensively in the first half. So our defense was holding it down in the first half. But then second half, that all changed. And Jonathan Gannon didn't know what to do. That goes to show, despite the talent around him, he's still not properly equipped to be a defensive coordinator. And I know this is off subject with the Super Bowl, but as Jonathan Gannon's now the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, if he struggled as a defensive coordinator when it mattered most with some of the best talent, then what do you think he's going to do as a head coach with greater responsibility? Just thought I'd put that out there. And here's an indication of how the defense folded. And thank you to Mitch, head of the network, for having this right here. So I could share it. There it is. Let's take a look. Patrick Mahomes, first half stats versus second half stats. You can clearly see there was a big adjustment, big difference, especially in the second half. Sure, it didn't have the greatest total yards, but look at the completions. And look at the touchdowns. That's a big difference right there. That shows you they stepped up right there. See? That's how things changed right there in the second half. So that's a big factor right there. I emphasize that point. And Jonathan Gannon, he could not hold it down despite the talent around him. He couldn't hold it down with this team. So you know what? I'm glad he's gone. Because really, even as the season was going along, I'm like, yeah, is this really Jonathan Gannon turning over a new leaf, or is it talent around him? At times, I thought it was the talent. I did. I know I'm not the only one that felt that way, but now you saw in the biggest game of the year that it really was the talent there. The Josh Sweats of the world, Hassan Reddicks, Brandon Graham's, Fletcher Cox's, Kaiser White's, TJ Edwards, Darius Slade Jr.'s, James Bradbury's, CJ Gardner-Johnson's. It was those guys that were holding it down on the defensive side of the ball. And people, some people wanted to give Jonathan Gannon credit. Well, he improved because he shut down Kenny Pickett, and he shut down Kirk Cousins, and he shut down Daniel Jones. And you know what? You're supposed to shut those guys down. All right? You're supposed to shut down guys like Daniel Jones. If you're truly a good defense, you're supposed to shut down guys like that. New York Giants, Daniel Jones, he was good enough this season when needed to be throughout the regular season. But you also had the factor of Saquon Barkley. Giants having the benefit of playing some softer games on schedule. They had some help there too. Sometimes going up against trashy opposition and suspect defenses helped them out. So us with the top defense talent-wise, shutting down guys like Daniel Jones isn't that special. Shutting down Kenny Pickett isn't that special. You know why? Because Kenny Pickett's a rookie who's still green, who's still developing. Shutting down early season Trevor Lawrence, who was coming into the season with his confidence at a low after his rookie year with Urban Meyer, isn't much of an accomplishment. when it comes to speaking of how good a defensive coordinator you are. Because those are things that are expected of defenses. So that's not really that much of a big accomplishment. So this game really emphasized the point that defensive-wise, it was the talent. And you know what else this game emphasized too? That Jalen Hurts is that guy, all right? Despite the final score, all that talk about, oh, it was a good regular season. He'll choke when it matters most. If you really think about it, he didn't choke when it mattered most. Jalen Hurts went out there and did everything he could. Take a look. Passing, 27 for 38, 304 yards, a touchdown. That was his pass statistics. Okay, got 2 sacks. But you look at that, still solid pass numbers. Now, rushing, he was the lead rusher too. He got 3 rushing touchdowns. And you know what? Jalen Hurts went out there and did everything he could do. He went out there, gave it 110% in that game, and everything could to lead this team to victory. On that drive where we tied the game up with the touchdown and 2-point conversion, you could see Jalen Hurts doing everything he could to help save this game, to help give the Eagles the chance to win that game. So don't give me that Jalen Hurts is a choke artist just because the team he played for lost, because he didn't play like a choke artist at all. He played like a top quarterback, even in defeat. Okay? Because some of y'all saying, guys, you wouldn't have called Tom Brady a choke artist. You didn't talk about, oh, Tom Brady always chokes against the NFC after Super Bowl 52. Some of you didn't really talk about it with that same energy because you know he still played a good game in defeat. But some of y'all, you know what? But Jalen Hurts, he's definitely no choke artist with that performance right there. You want to talk about an example of where a quarterback can get respect even when his team loses a big game? That's an example right there. He went out there and gave one of the best performances he could. You could say put that up there with best performances by a losing quarterback in the Super Bowl along with, well, Tom Brady's performance in Super Bowl 52. Who are some other quarterbacks that put up good performances in losing the Super Bowl? Who else? Struggling to think off the top of my head, but you guys can comment around me. Who are some quarterbacks that played good in defeat in Super Bowls that you can recall? But yeah, he's up there definitely. You could say this is arguably the best performance by a losing quarterback in Super Bowl history. If you can name one better, name it. The point I'm getting at is Jalen Hurts proved, even with losing the Super Bowl, that he's top quarterback in the NFC and he's here to stay, barring any serious injuries. So he'll be back next year for sure. He will be back. Believe that. So Jalen Hurts, I give him credit. I'm not going to put this loss on him. Yes, there was the fumble, but despite that, I'm not going to put it on him because, like I said, he did everything he could. He gave it his all, and I respect that. This wasn't a Kerry Collins in Super Bowl 35 or a Rich Gannon in Super Bowl 37 performance in a losing effort where the quarterback totally stunk. This was not one of those. This is a respectable performance despite falling short. So, this wasn't even Peyton Manning in Super Bowl 48. His worst performance in a big game. This wasn't that. This was a respectable performance. So, got nothing else to say about Jalen Hurts right there except salute to you for doing everything you could. Thank you for trying to help us win this championship. I look forward to seeing what you do for us next season. As far as the offense goes, hey, they did their best part too, so I can't knock them at all. But yeah, man, it's just, I said that, tweeted this on Twitter, and man, when I think about it, it's a shame we came all this way just to lose the Super Bowl. It is. But at the same time, there's a part of me that's proud of the fact that this team made it this far, despite the fact that they fell short. Despite the fact they fell short, there's still some positives, and there's still some stuff to be proud about with this team. The fact that they made it this far. They had home field advantage in the playoffs. They were knocking down teams left and right through the regular season. They went through the NFC bracket of the playoffs. And even despite falling short, they put up a respectable fight as a team. So can't be totally disappointed in it either. There's still some room to be proud of this team and what they accomplished this season, despite not winning the Super Bowl. So it's not all horrible. But it would have been much better if we won the Super Bowl for sure. It would have been a more satisfying end to the season. And I know you guys can all agree with me on that one. 1 second. But hey, man, I do want to say this while I'm still on here. I got to give credit where credit's due, too. I got to give credit to the Kansas City Chiefs. They came to play. And you know what? Ultimately, they adjusted when it mattered most in the second half. We didn't. Therefore, for making the adjustments they needed to, they deserved to win this game. They did. They handled their business. We didn't. So I got to give them credit right there. So I give them credit for handling their business. And Patrick Mahomes, let's be honest about it. At this moment in time, I'd say he's the best quarterback in the NFL currently. It is Patrick Mahomes. Some people he'll say he's the new Brady, however you want to interpret that. But yeah, he is the best quarterback in the NFL currently. I'm not going to take that away from him. And Andy Reid, you know what the crazy part about Andy Reid is? If he never played if he never coached for the Eagles the first time around, say he started his coaching career in Kansas City, same career, he'd still be a Hall of Fame head coach without the Eagles run, without 5 NFC championships, without a Super Bowl run under his belt. On top of what he's got now in Kansas City, he'd still be a Hall of Fame coach. So salute to Andy Reid, one of the all-time great coaches. And he's gotten privilege with the opportunity to work with one of the guy who's going to be remembered as one of the all-time great quarterbacks in Patrick Mahomes. He's had the opportunity to coach a total of 4 Super Bowls in his career. And he's got 2 Super Bowl rings. So you know what? Andy Reid deserves credit too, man. And that Kansas City team, I mean, hey, I got to give him credit because some people, I myself thought going into the season, I thought they might be a playoff team. I'm thinking with that quarterback, Mahomes, they're definitely going to be a playoff team, but I don't know about being in championship contention. That was my thoughts on Kansas City going into the season. And even with some new weapons at hand, with Juju, Valdez-Scantling, and still the familiar face in Travis Kelce, they did a good job. They did what they needed to do, so I got to give them credit. I cannot take that away from them. So even though this is about the Eagles, I still got to come on here and at least respectfully give the Kansas City Chiefs credit. So congratulations to them. And you guys deserved it, man. So that's what I got to say right there. So now I'm going to get in. You saw the title of it. You see that I'm also going to give kind of a recap of the season. So I'm going to get into that just a moment. Keep myself hydrated first. And now it is time to switch gears. And let's kind of give a recap of the season while I'm on here. Let's just do it in one stream, shall we? So this Eagles season, the best way to describe it is one of the all-time great teams that didn't win a Super Bowl. You know how we talk about who are some of the greatest NFL teams that never win a Super Bowl? We mentioned obvious teams like the 07 Patriots. Another team mentioned is the 98 Vikings. Or now that time's past, the 2015 Panthers. I feel like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 decade from now, 2 decades from now, people are going to talk about the 2022 Eagles as one of those all-time great teams that didn't win a Super Bowl. They will be on that there with those other teams, with some of those early 90s Bills teams, '07 Pats, some of those 70s Vikings teams, like that 04 Steelers team. They will be there with those teams. The 2015 Panthers, they'll be there. They will. 2013 Broncos, the Eagles will be there with all those all-time great teams that didn't win a Super Bowl, that fell just short. They will be. And because you look at the season and how things went. I mean, 8-0. Wait, what was it? What was it? Was it 8-0 or 9-0? What? It was 8-0, I think, right? Let me just try to remember off the top of my head. Before we had that loss, what was our record? So we were 8-0. Yep, that's correct. We were 8-0. First time going 8-0 in franchise history. We had one of the best defenses in our franchise's history, even in the offensive-friendly era where roughing the passer calls and ticky-tack calls are more common. Still, we had the most sacks in our franchise history in a regular season by the team. All right, clearly, you had a great defense. Just imagine how good it would have been if you had a better defensive coordinator with these guys. But still, you had one of the greatest regular season defenses out there, just wreaking havoc week after week after week. That was one accomplishment we had. We had most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in a regular season. But not just rushing. We had a quarterback who was throwing the darts too. And I'm going to pull it up. Let's take a look at Jalen Hurts' regular season stats. So I'm going to pull that up right here so we can take a look. So he had 22 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, close to 4,000 passing yards. Still, despite being one of the main runners, he still did that too. So Jalen Hurts proved himself this year to be a dual threat quarterback. Easy Pro Bowl nod. He was a front runner for the MVP award, which Patrick Mahomes ultimately won. And, well, considering he won the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl MVP award, can't really say anything about that now. But, hey, Hurts was still in the mix, too, is the point I'm getting at. Hurts, he balled out. Excellent season. Both running and passing. Great dual threat option going forward. So, you had that right there. You had 2,000-plus yard receivers. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert was a great third option as well. One of the best offensive lines in this league. But Miles Sanders had his best season in the NFL behind that line. It was just so much good going for this team right there, all around. You had plenty of talent both sides of the ball. As the season went along, they were becoming favorites to win the Super Bowl. You cannot tell me this team wasn't balling out throughout the year, because they clearly were. I mean, you just look at how well this team played, the way they dominated some of these teams. Like the Titans, the Steelers, the Commanders the first time around. Hell, the Giants, dominating these teams. Even the Vikings, who were supposed to be the second best team. Who ended up being the third best team in the NFC, who looked like they were going to be the number 2 seed throughout most of the season. Eagles took care of business against those teams, all right? They were blowing some teams out, just absolutely dominating throughout the season. This was clearly, this is the best the Eagles had looked in years since the last Super Bowl run. But this time they looked like an better all-around unit. So you can't tell me that this is one of the best teams to never win the Super Bowl now that the season's officially over. You can tell me that honestly. You cannot put together a list of best teams to never win a Super Bowl that was made February 15th, 2023 going forward and not include the 2022 Eagles. Obviously, lists that were made before the season, well, different story. We'll just, they're dated. Those lists are dated, but you cannot put together an honest list and tell me this team wasn't one of the all-time great teams that ever won a Super Bowl, just looking at how well they played. And just a ton of good going for it. And really ask me, I'd say they were better than the 2015 Panthers, honestly. I mean, forget record. I think you match up this year's Eagles versus the 2015 Panthers. I think this year's Eagles take it. You can match us up against another team. We could probably match up against maybe the 98 Vikings or another team we could have a chance at matching up against. I don't know if I'd say we were a better non-Super Bowl winning team than the 07 Patriots. I don't know about that. But I think we could have matched ourselves well against some of the all-time great non-Super Bowl winning teams. We could have probably taken the 04 Steelers too. I mean, yeah, so man, just so much. It's like it was damn near a perfect season. So many great things going for the season, except one thing was missing, and that's that Super Bowl parade. That's ultimately what our season was, and that's what I'll remember it for. So it's a recap of the season right here. The year Jalen Hurts had his out party as a star player in the NFL. You know, the year that Howie Roseman stepped up his game and turned around his reputation as an executive, which gives me more confidence going forward in him being a general manager for the Eagles. So I'll leave my thoughts on the 2022 Eagles with this. One of, if not the greatest NFL team to never win a Super Bowl. Just did everything they could do to just missed out on that Lombardi trophy. And that's what I got to say to summarize the 2022 Eagles. So, yeah, there's nothing really else I'm going to say about this. I said everything I wanted to say about the Super Bowl, and I said everything I was going to say about the season, recapping it. So I'll leave it at that. So to everyone that tuned in, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, please drop a like. If you haven't done so, whether you're on the Hardcore Sports Network or Nikki Stee's channel on the YouTube side, please drop a like. And first of all, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And until next time, it is Nikki Stees signing off.